Good evening, everyone. Thanks to those who have joined. I can see some more people are joining as we speak. Please, if you cannot hear me or if you cannot see any of the information on the screen, could you just pop a message in the chat? What I would also like to say to everyone is that Miss O'Malley is on, she is on the, oh, thank you, Miss O'Malley. Miss O'Malley's on the chat as well. One of the things we want to encourage you as parents and carers to do, if you have any questions, please, if you could pop them into the chat and Miss O'Malley will be answering any questions. As you can see from the agenda, I have included just some 10 minutes towards the end, just so as we can equally further have another Q&A session. So without further ado, thank you once again. Thank goodness it is online and you're not having to come out in this horrific weather and come into school. So yes, without further ado, so what I would like to go over with you this evening is just contacts reminder in school, the Year 9 PPP drop-down day, partnership intervention, year group success, summer term update with dates, and as mentioned, the Q&A at the end. Okay, hopefully I won't keep you too long. I know the last time I really liked to have a chat, therefore I'll try and keep it really, really succinct and direct this time. So, okay, so first things first. So, as I've said, the welcome, and with you've seen this slide before, but as ever, it's always good to go over. Please just who your contacts are in school. First and foremost, obviously, you can see who your form tutors are, and then it's head of year, deputy head of the upper school, and then head of the upper school. I know most of you know that already. However, it's always good just to just to repeat it, okay? Once again, from our pastoral support perspective, we're lucky that we have Miss Leslie, Miss Robinson and Mr. Lee. Any of you who have students in Year 8 will understand that he is the head of Year 8. However, he also does pastoral support work for the upper school. Mr. Lee's already started doing a lot of group work with some of our students. Therefore, these are the contact details, and that's the format for the email contact below. So also, here just to give you the kind of visual overview of what your contact should look like if it's from a pastoral perspective. If you've got a concern, always go to the form tutor, and you know, if need be, you can then come to myself, or form tutor can come to me. Subject wise, you go to the subject teacher, whom I know most of you will know who the teachers are, and they will then forward it on to the head of subject. And if you do have a question with regards to inclusion, you would go to our the school SENCO, who is Miss Alex Bell. Some of you may have already reached out to Miss Bell and be familiar with her. Therefore, I just wanted to include that this slide again, just so that we all know. Please do not worry if, for example, you know of another parent or carer who was unable to attend this evening, because we will, as ever, make this available to all parents and carers for Year 9. It is being recorded, and I will share my presentation as well with all the contact information. Anybody who's just joined us, if you do have any questions, please pop your question into the chat. Miss O'Malley is kindly on the call this evening as well, and she can answer any questions. So without further ado, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the Year 9 drop-down day. And obviously this has got a PPP focus for Year 9. So what is it? You know, you'll probably hear the term drop-down day and you think, I don't understand what that means. So here I just want to give you an idea. It's just a day where the students are off timetable and it's just year specific. So for example, the year 9 one will be coming up. They are off timetable to take part in workshops and attend different sessions with sometimes external speakers, but also some staff in school who are trained and can deliver a workshop on a specific topic. Now, I know most of you may be thinking, why do we do this? One of the key things that I know that we have realised in school is any support that we can offer staff and students in relation to our PPP lessons in the curriculum are always strongly welcomed. Now, for example, I wanted to include in there the idea of this as being essential life skill topics. Particularly around the idea of online safety. Now, it's something that as parents and carers probably didn't have to necessarily worry about when we were at school. You know, I can always remember being at school and learning how to write a check. Nobody uses checks anymore. Therefore, something like this is something that we really feel is important to sit down and work with the students in specific workshop groups about online safety, you know, and that can be anything from, you know, in relation to is it right to send is it right to join a group chat if you don't know who the person is it right to send photographs, is it right to send photographs of some of your friends? And you know, it's all of those questions, and it's something I feel it's important to hear students' voice and, you know, come in, because they're the ones that are experiencing this. They're in the here and now, and it's our job to try and make sure that they are safe with anything to do with online. The same as that, this idea of having a digital footprint. Now, that can cover a whole plethora of subjects to the extent, as we're getting ready for work experience, we want to encourage students to know how to, you know, look formally, get in touch with, let's say, employers, formally request, like say, work experience, or equally, if they've got a concern, how to actually formally, like kind of format an email or a message to a different person. It's like, I mean, I like to call it like digital etiquette to a certain extent. So that's something that we equally cover, hence me using the term essential life skills. And the good old classic work experience preparation. I know I've mentioned this a couple of times now. However, it's something that I'm equally encouraging all of our students when I speak to them every day. Like, you know, where do your interests lie? Where, you know, like, have you got a particular shop or organization, or what do parents and carers do? You know, something that you'd be interested in getting that work experience. So that's something that I'm going to just keep working with them, because, like, you know, as we all know, it goes really quickly in school. Before you know it, they're in year 10 and they're having to think about that essential work experience. I just wanted to reiterate there that the irony being, like, repetition in education suggests that repeating stimuli enforces learning, and that's for lots of things, you know. And it's the idea of I always question comprehension, you know, and it's the basic use of language to the extent you say, like, oh, do you understand what that means? Do you understand what you have to do? And if you don't, let's try and unpick it. And so by repeating certain messages that are in relation to these essential life skill topics, it really does help. It really helps. And we were due to have our PPP drop down day on Friday, the 24th of May. Now that we know that's the last day of this half term, and it's right in the middle of our exam period, to the extent that, you know, we're going to reschedule it because I don't think we have got the enough room capacity, and certain staff who wanted to present are perhaps maybe not available. I do know that the external suppliers are just on standby for when we are about to, you know, reschedule that day. But when that is confirmed, I can assure you that I will send all details. We'll get the information out to parents Okay. Any questions about the drop down day? I understand there's been some great messages coming into the chat. If you've only joined us, people, understandably, it's not a problem. If you do have a question, Miss O'Malley is on she's on the call and she can answer your questions in the chat. So moving on, I wanted to also highlight the intervention that we have in school. Intervention being what kind of support, what extra mentoring, what extra sessions that we can provide for our students. And yeah, I'm obviously of a year 9 focus, but we know that these external interventions and pastoral support workers in the school do that for all of the year groups in question. However, just so that I can let you know which companies we are working with and about to work with again. We have a company called Just Ball. I believe I mentioned that the last forum. But JOSPA will come in and they do group or one-to-one mentoring with students, and that's particularly students that perhaps just need a little bit of encouragement in how to kind of get over any issues they have with engaging in the lessons and getting back on track. Now I know I've highlighted there it's students struggling. That's probably quite a serious term, but it's just to get them back on track. And Just Ball have worked with us for a number of years now and to great success. So the other company I have included there is a company called Scope, and I know that they have worked with our school for a good number of years. However, based on, with lockdown and like the pandemic, I'm so looking forward to not having to say that at some point. However, yeah, so they obviously couldn't get involved, but they're back on board, which I'm personally quite excited about, because it's the chance for students to work with universities and like a university graduates directly. Like, it's almost like, what does it mean? What do you want to, if you want to go to university, what do you aspire to be? Now, the Inner Scope's mantra is that they always try and work out how to know your why. And I can remember the first time I heard that, I thought, what does that mean? But it's like knowing who you aspire to be, what you aspire to be. So they really explore that, and they explore that from a mentor perspective. They actually explore that as well with working with your peers. So you would work in pairs with another person from your year group, it's the idea of just trying to understand what it is you want out of life as such. So I'm really excited that they're coming on board. They're going to be running a 5-week course for students who have kind of stressed and interest and want to go to university and are really keen on that. So that's going to be starting to kind of come into play before the end of this academic year. As I mentioned before, our pastoral support workers, Miss Leslie and Miss Robinson, have been hosting sessions for students that perhaps need maybe a little bit of catch up, or they've got questions, or they're maybe they've got issues where they're maybe behind in work with their core subjects, that being maths, English and science, and they are hosting these sessions after school. I do know that they would have been in touch with parents, just so to that your child is going to be getting involved with those sessions after school. The next slide is, as ever, I like to just give you an idea on upcoming summer term. So as you know, I've seen one of the questions about the inner scope criteria. Apologies. We have one of the things that they want to work with us on at the moment is students who are kind of have got quite a high attainment level, and they are presently taking 16 students whom they want to work with. And what I have tried to do is make sure there's the balance of 8 boys and 8 girls. Now, by all means, I always have a reserve list as well, because sometimes students don't want to take part in the inner scope. The thing is, they come into us in school, so the mentoring session is done in school time. There may be like a trip to the university at some point towards the end of the actual intervention, but the team, they come in and they work with their students in school, so at least it's something that's factored into their day to day. And students, if they don't want to do it, I just always encourage them to be honest with me, but I like to give them the opportunity to try and get involved with this. If you do have any other questions, bespoke questions about Interscope, please drop me a line. You can always email me. I went over the format with the email address earlier. If you don't know how to spell my name, contact Form Tutor and they can forward it on to me. Sorry, I'll go back to just the upcoming summer term. Now, I know that some of you lovely people on this call have students who are, say, in year 11 or year 13, and or maybe even in year 10 and 12 and about to do mock exams. But I want to really stress the importance of, I don't know if you would necessarily talk to your child at home about this. Sorry, your young adult. I still need to I would like to call them that, but just try to encourage them to be mindful and respectful. It's inside and outside of school, because it is such a stressful time for our students that are going through these exams. I mean, I cannot stress it enough. I think it's even more stressful for the guys nowadays, like say, for example, when I was possibly, sitting my hires in Scotland and such like that. Because they're doing a lot more exams, and some of them, they might be really anxious, and the last thing they want is anybody coming up saying like, oh, hey, how you doing, oh, you got this exam, oh, just as an example. I'm grateful that year 9 are not doing that, and I'll say that with all honesty. But please, if we could just encourage, if you guys could work with us just to say, hey, like, I notice you've got something in class charts. If you were noisy or whatever, please be respectful of the exams. Okay. So with the summer term, some key dates for you. I believe you will have received some information about this, and your young adult will have received information about this as well. So tomorrow evening is our community evening. Now, I know that it is such a successful evening, and this is what I say to all the students is, get here early. The food is incredible. It goes quick. Okay. We also have the beauty of having a concert from 7 until 8 p.m. The music department are going to have a community evening concert, so it should be a very fun-filled evening, and it's Thursday of this week, 23rd of May. So let's hope the weather is in our favour. I also included Thursday, the 27th of June. We have the Religious Studies Year 9 trip to Neasden Temple. Another date for everyone is our summer showcase, which equally is a really good evening to come, get involved, and you can see just exactly what life is kind of like in the school. But obviously it's a celebration, so this summer showcase, you can get to see some of the amazing artwork and the performances from our students as well. So that's on Friday, the 5th of July. So the key dates towards the end of this academic year, when we have sports day, year 9 sports day, maybe change, so it's either school trip 17th, sports day the 18th. I will confirm that. Either way, we always do one towards the end of the last week of the academic year. The school trip information is going to be sent out to all of you lovely parent and carers. And just to go over, the last day of term is on Friday, the 19th of July, and the timings of the school day will equally be communicated to all you lovely parents and carers. I've also here just put another another point. Sorry, I was going to try and think of a cleverer way to say that. For the work experience. So just start having the conversations. Start having the conversations with your young adults, just because the more such a valuable experience, the more they can get out of it can really, really shape like their focus and attention when in school and what they want to do when they're getting towards year 11. They can have an idea on a career. Now we understand that not everybody does have that, and that's why, I mean, we can just start having those conversations. Hey, what do you like? How do you see yourself, like, going to university? What kind of area are you interested in? So have these conversations now, and you'll be continuing what we're already doing in school as well. As many of you know, and if you have just joined, please put your questions in the chat for Miss O'Malley. She's on the chat as well. Thank you, Miss O'Malley. I can see lots of questions coming through. And don't worry if you've missed anything, because this recording will be made available to parents, and I will also send out my PowerPoint. As ever, you know I love a graph, and I love a successful graph. And I know every single one of you are saying, but Miss Diprose, that looks exactly like the last one. Believe me, it doesn't. The red bit's slightly bigger, okay? However, by and large, it's still all right. We're still doing really good. As ever, you know I am incredibly proud of year 9. I know they get fed up hearing me saying that. I'm going to be delivering a message similar to this to them tomorrow morning in our assembly. So I like to tell them that I've told all of you parent and carers how well they're doing as well. But who doesn't love a graph, particularly if it's green? Anyway, okay, I will move on from that. So we have a few minutes towards the end. I'm nearly on time because ideally, you know, I don't want to keep you lovely people longer than what I have to. So I'm grateful for the fact that some of you have been putting in your questions into the team chat. So if you want to just take a moment now, and if you have any questions, Miss O'Malley and myself can actually try and answer any of those questions. We've got about for another 8 minutes or so if you do want to actually send us through your questions. And as ever, thank you to all of you who have actually joined this evening. Yeah, thank you, Miss O'Malley. I forgot about that. But if you would wish to talk directly, one of us can actually, Miss O'Malley or myself, can answer back if you have any questions.
I can answer those too. So with
I'd like to say there's a question about subject teachers for year 10. I do know the answer to this, and I know this is something I've been speaking to the heads of department about. There is usually some movement around, you know, the teachers. They don't necessarily, they may not necessarily have the same teacher as they do have which they've had in year 9, but that's something that with the planning, it's kind of, those conversations are happening now. Okay, I've seen a question about the maths teaching in year 9. I think we've had a few query points in relation to the maths teaching, and that's something that I forward on to Mr. Dix, who is the head of department, and usually he likes to reach out to you know, our parents and carers just to try and find out what it is that we can do to support. So I would encourage you to keep asking those questions. Go to Form Tutor, come to myself, or if you have already been in conversation with Mr. Dix, then please ask him again. I've seen that someone's saying they haven't had any feedback from this forum. I can at least go and ask. I can touch base with Mr. Dix. Okay, we've got a question about very little homework being set. It'd be quite good to know specifically what the subjects are, because then we can address that direct with the heads of subject. As ever, I know your young adults probably won't thank us for giving them more homework. However, that's a very valid point. So please, if you could just give us all the details as to what subject it was and where your concerns are, and we can reply back to you. We'll check with the head of subject and we can reply back to you. It's a good point though, because homework should be, you know, like accompanying what they're doing in school. So thanks for raising that. I can see there was one question about students who are struggling access the additional support. What I would encourage you to do in that instance as well is, if you could just reach out to like myself or Form Tutor and give us an idea of what subjects, and you know, we can look into that. We can try and see where, you know, our pastoral support workers are. If it's one of our core subjects, we could try and then, you know, like schedule, like do a timetable if they need that extra support. But please just let us know and what your concerns are, and we'll see what we can do. Okay. Oh, we've got a question. What are the dates for the Year 10 work experience? That's a really good question, and I may have to ask Miss O'Malley, because our current Year 10s, I do recall when they did their work experience, because school was quite, it just felt like no one was here. I don't know if it kind of changes slightly year on year by a week or so, but I think it's usually the last
I can
term,
answer.
the last half term.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Miss O'Malley, are you
Hi,
able
can
to
you
help
hear
with the
me?
work experience? Oh, right. Okay. Oh, I can't hear Miss O'Malley, but I think thankfully parents can, so that's the most important. They're the most
Okay.
important people, Miss O'Malley.
All right. So previously we've had it in the in this term that we're in now, this half term, and what we found was it was quite close to their mock exams, which made it quite difficult and a lot on for the students. So this year we moved it to just before the Easter holidays. So they had the 2 weeks and then went straight into the Easter holidays, which worked a lot better in terms of spreading out the things that they needed to do throughout the year. So it's likely to stay in the same place, but we as a leadership team will discuss that and then decide for next year. It's not been finalised, but it's most likely to be in spring too, so just before the Easter holidays.
Thank you, Miss O'Malley. Sorry, I can hear you now. I've just had a message about you. If you weren't here to join at the start, please do not worry. You will get the recording available to you, and I will send out the PowerPoint as well. I believe there's also a way that I can extract or export the chat, because there's been some great questions this evening, and so I imagine that's some questions that a lot of other parents and carers would like to ask.
So in terms of revision skills, what we tend to do in year 10 and 11 is try to incorporate some revision techniques into form time in the morning. So registration becomes more and more important. I think often the students see it as, oh, it's just to register, but actually we do activities during that time. So we do emphasize how important it is to be there all of the time, but especially year 10 and 11, because we do use that time to share different techniques with students and for them to share their own experiences. So we incorporate that into our daily activities. We also, Mr. Ventura, our assistant head that started last year, he always leads an assembly for the year 10s and 11s on different techniques as well, and has a little booklet for them, which has lots of different methods to use. So in the parent forum at the start of year 10, we usually invite him along. so that he can obviously explain to the parents the methods that they can use, because sometimes we're not maybe up to date with different ways that you can do that now. So he kind of delivers the same thing to parents as he will do in the assembly with the students. And then we also have what's called the think tank, which is prioritised for year 11 at the start of the year, but then becomes year 10s at the end of the year, which is another revision kind of space for them, with revision resources and with a member of staff that's in there also to help them, as well as teachers giving them ideas as well. But I think what we have found in years 10 and 11 is quite often you do get students who just don't know where to start, essentially. So we try to make sure that we create a bit of a robust activity and timetable within the tutor period in order to help them with that. And then as we get more and more closer to the exams, we also allow a revision period to take place in tutor time as well. So they have 20 minutes in the morning where at the minute it might be silent reading for the lower school year groups. And as they get older, they can obviously continue to read if they prefer, but they have the option to do some revision in that time if they wish to. And again, the form tutor can help them with different ways to do that.
Yeah, thanks, Miss O'Malley. I can see a question about the Duke of Edinburgh offer, and yes, I have been told that that is in year 10, because there's students in the current year 10 who are doing that just now. I know some schools it is, some schools do it in year 9, but I think year 10 has to take priority. So yes, there will be the Duke of Edinburgh offer. Yeah. Just like to see if there's anyone has got any more questions. Okay. Right. Okay, there is a question, Miss O'Malley, about the year 10 mock, when the mocks will be. Is that for a year 10 when, I'm just trying to think, is that for the current year 10 if you've got a student in year 10, or is it for when our current year 9s are in year 10?
So at the moment, the year 11s and 13s are sitting their actual exams. As soon as they finish, it turns into the year 10 exams and the year 12 mock exams, whilst the sports hall and theatre are still set up with the exam tables. So their first exam for year 10 this year starts on the 12th of June. So it'll be a similar time of year next year for the year 9s when they go into that. I've just seen, no, I mean, this lot's year 9. So they don't have mock exams as such.
Yeah.
In year 9, we don't want to put too much pressure on them too soon. What we do have is end of year assessments, just like we would at end of each term when we do our progress checks and things like that. Most of them are in the classroom environment, which is also what happens for our year 7, 8 and 9. We do, however, sometimes do the maths, potentially maths, English and science in the sports hall, just one exam, not multiple exams, for them to get used to it. So Mr. Rayner has already spoken to me about the maths exam taking place in the sports hall after the year 10 mocks, just so that year 9s can kind of get a feel for what that's like and get them used to it a little bit ahead of year 10, because they obviously slowly start to have more and more exams in the sports hall. So yeah, trying to just make them get used to that, really. So when we have confirmed if all 3 subjects or 3 course subjects want to use the hall or not, we will get that information out to you.
Yeah, I think the question about the first mocks will be approximately mid-June 2025, and yes, I think that's a yes. Okay, everyone, I'll give you another few minutes just in case any you have any further questions, and then I can let you all go and have a very damp evening. If anyone has got any other questions, if you want to ask now.
In terms of the maths lessons that you've raised a concern, I'm just going to write an email now to Mr. Dix to get an update. And then once we have that, we can send something out to year 9 parents so that you're aware of what's happening.
Fantastic. Thanks, Miss O'Malley. Okay, everyone, there may be a question that you haven't thought about, but once you know who our contact details are in school, and if you're not sure, you can always ask me. You can get in touch with reception, form tutor. There's always someone here that will be able to field your question, and hopefully we can get the answers to you. Okay. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining. And yes, and try and enjoy the rest of your evening. But thank you.